Hello everyone, this is Beastly Eel, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the latest episode of The Bad Batch, episode 14. So this episode, like I do with all these, I'm going to talk about the episode as a whole, and then talk about where I think the rest of the season is going to go, slash series, because we're not quite sure if we're going to get another season or not 100% yet. So this episode, unlike several of the last ones, was not filler. It actually built up a lot of information for us. So the Bad Batch was en route to do a mission for Sid, where they get a distress signal from Rex. Rex letting them know that there is a trooper that needs to be saved on a particular planet, and they need to get them out of there. They don't get much information from Rex. He seems to be under fire, or at least incognito, um, when contacting the Bad Batch. So it's quite unclear what's 100% going on with him. So that's happening, and then they just are trying to decide whether or not they're going to go. Most of the crew just doesn't want to, except for Echo. Echo thinks it's a good idea because Rex wouldn't call them unless it was a severe emergency. And finally, they agreed to go. Omega was also big on trying to get them to go on this mission as well, to help out their friend Rex. So they do their analysis on the planet, and apparently it's a planet that didn't have any life on it and had nothing really going on there. So when they get there, they start looking around, um, and they find the distress signal, the little beacon that kind of tells them, where to go. There was nobody else there. Hunter used his ability and looked around. He noticed um, that the person that left the beacon was captured and dragged away. So they follow it and they find out that they're at a military base, an Empire outpost on the middle of the planet, specifically inside the mountain. So Hunter orders Omega and Wrecker to go back to the ship, and they'll be the backup while they go scouting to find out what's going on. So they break in, and as they're going in, they notice all these troopers, um, a lot more troopers than they were expecting, and they also have different armor. So the basic ones have the stereotypical stormtrooper outfits now. The stormtrooper armor is basically these just basic stormtroopers. But there's like these stormtrooper commanders that have almost looks like shock armor, a little bit like they're buffer and everything else. So I'm not quite sure who they are. It was unclear too. So anyway, when they finally start hunting down everything, they figure out where the clone is and they go after him. When they get there, they release him, and it turns out to be Gregor. Gregor was a clone that we were first introduced in the Clone Wars. Um, he was a clone that lost his memory, who was a slave, who then got saved or his memory back, and then supposedly sacrificed himself to let the others escape in this explosion. And it turned out he had survived. Now, we had known he survived because of Rebels. He was in Rebels when Ahsoka Tano tells Kane and Azrael to go see her buddy Rex, and he's part of the group. So, spoiler alert, that means Gregor lives. Um, but anyway, they're going through and they're now trying to escape. And we learn more about the Empire's army. They find out that Gregor and it sounded like the clones are training the new troops who are to replace the clones. And he explains that apparently loyalty was more powerful than the clones, and sheer numbers was enough. And the others disagreed, but they were outnumbered, um, dealing with all these stormtroopers. So the big thing too is they're kind of trying to escape. They are blocked off from most of their exits. Um, Gregor was trying to help them find a location, but unfortunately, his way was blocked, so they had to do a new way. So they decide to go through the vents, and they make it to the outside, and they call Wrecker and Omega to come get them. So they fly around. Tech and Gregor get into the ship. They had to fly away a little bit because fighters are coming in, trying to shoot them down. So they're still trying to take out the other stormtroopers, while the other two are trying to get rid of the fighters on their butt. So they're able to get Echo, and then unfortunately Hunter does not make it. He falls and crash lands and gets captured. He orders the Bad Batch to escape. Omega disagrees, but they were outvoted. So Omega is not happy, but they take off. Hunter is captured, and in his prison cell, we see Crosshairs come in. And Crosshairs talks to him, and Hunter goes, "I knew you would be on your way." And Crosshairs is like, "I was hoping for the whole squad, but you'll do." And that's how that story ends. Now, there was a part of the story that I didn't talk about that I wanted to talk about separately. We have at the planet that created the clones. Sorry, we had found out that the head scientist and the prime minister were getting ready to escape. They thought it would be a good idea to escape and get out of there because they now know that the Empire doesn't have much use for clones anymore. And they wanted to make sure for their own safety that they got out of there just in case. Well, there was a break in between. There was a bunch of clone story, Bad Batch story. But what had happened was later on, the head scientist got captured by stormtroopers trying to gather up the scientists, to escape off world. The admiral comes in and he basically says, "We have use for a scientist. We don't have a use for a politician." And so they take the scientist out and they leave two particularly armed troopers left with the prime minister. We assume he's going to get murdered, but we don't actually see it, nor do we hear gunfire. So we're not quite sure what's going to happen, if anything's going to happen at all. And that was the end. So let's talk about this to begin with. The one thing that weirds me out is that the Bad Batch is still using stun instead of opening fire. The only one that actually used real lethal weapons, sorry, real lethal weapons was Wrecker. And I just find that odd still. Now that they know that the troopers aren't clones, why are they still holding back? It's just not something that doesn't make sense to me, and I'm not quite sure I understand it. They're not going full blast, and I'm kind of confused by that still. They seem to be kind of just not wanting to kill too many stormtroopers for whatever the reason, and I'm not quite sure why. We also get a better idea of how the training process is going. They're using commanders, clone commanders, to train all the troops to get them ready um, to replace them, I would imagine. Um, but that's not specifically stated in King. Um, we also have what else do we have? We have also they're completely getting away with they're completely getting away with the old clone armors. So now they're sticking with just stormtrooper armor. They've added a new type of armor that I have not seen yet, and I mean it looks similar to something I know, but realistically we don't know that. So I don't know. I don't know much about that new armor, but it is heavy duty. They're getting completely away from the Republic codes and everything else, and they're kind of making their own Empire codes. What else? What else? They're trying to get rid of the clones because, and I would imagine that the fear of the clone creators backstabbing them is super high. And I would imagine they want to cut that risk off because loyalty is cheaper and easier to control. So, yeah, where do I think this is going to go? Well, obviously the Bad Batch is going to go back and try to save them. Let's save Hunter. Hunter and Crosshairs are going to get into a huge fight, but I think Crosshairs is going to try to use Hunter to bring the rest of the Bad Batch to him as a trap. And I don't think it's going to be just the Bad Batch that goes. I think there'll be several others who come in to help that we've either seen already or we're going to see. Like we haven't seen in this season yet, but we've seen them in the past. So definitely interested to see. There's only 2 episodes left, so there's got to be a big climax coming soon. So I'm excited, and let me know what you think in the comments. What did you guys think of the episode? I actually thought it was good compared to a lot of the others. It gave us a lot more knowledge of what's going on with the Empire, and it pushed the story around a little bit to get closer to the end, which will be nice. So for now, as always, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, this is Beastly Eel signing out. Have a good night.